Hi, this is Alken, and welcome back to my channel. Well, we got some breaking news coming from the White House, and I'm just as shocked as you are when I read this. Some of you are not going to believe this. According to both the New York Post and the Associated Press, which are the first two to release this, um, President Trump said he wants the U.S. to take ownership of the Gaza Strip, redevelop it after the Palestinians are settled elsewhere. He wants to tear out the bombed out area, bulldoze it, start over, rebuild it, make it an economic zone so that way that there's going to be no more fighting between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Make it an economic zone. Well, I mean, apparently, you have organizations for years trying to solve this Middle East problem and failed miserably. Especially USAID, which may be going out of business. We don't know yet. But anyway, let me read what the Associated Press said because they have a longer version of the story than the Post. It says Trump wants the U.S. to take over the ownership of Gaza and redevelop it after the Palestinians are resettled elsewhere, temporarily, of course, but they didn't put that in. Okay. So I'm not even going to pronounce the names of the three reporters because can't pronounce crap. Anyway, President Donald Trump said Tuesday he wants the U.S. to take ownership of the Gaza Strip, redevelop it after the Palestinians are resettled elsewhere. Where, I don't know. We will own it and be responsible for dismantling all the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, Trump says in a state or a start of a joint news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Trump added the U.S. will level destroy buildings and create an economic development that will supply unlimited number of jobs and housing for the people of the area. The comments came after Trump early suggested that displaced Palestinians in Gaza be permanently resettled outside the war-torn area. Of course, it says this is a breaking news story from earlier. Yeah, it said Tuesday he suggested that displacing Palestinians in Gaza were permanently resettled outside the war-torn area. But, Trump made a provocative comments at the start of his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House, where the two leaders also discussed the fragile ceasefire and hostage deals in the Israeli-Hamas conflict. I don't think that people should be going back, Trump said. You can't live in Gaza right now. I think we need another location. I think it should be a location that's going to make everyone happy. The president's most stringent argument to date for mass relocation from the Gaza comes among growing uncertainty that the temporary ceasefire and hostage agreement stuck last month between Israel and Hamas can reach a even more delicate second stage. Egypt, Jordan, and other U.S. allies in the Middle East has cautioned Trump that relocating Gaza's more than 2 million Palestinians would threaten Middle East stability, risking expanding the conflict and undermining a decade-long push by the U.S. and allies for a two-state solution. Still, Trump insists that Palestine had no alternative but to leave the big pile of rubble that is Gaza. I mean, do you folks want to live in those buildings right now? I guess not. He spoke out of as his top aide stressed that the 3 to 5 year timeline for reconstruction of the war-torn territory as laid out in the temporary truce agreement is not viable. Last week, both Egyptian President Abdel Fattah Assad and Jordan King Abdul II dismissed Trump's call for resettled Gazans. Still, Trump, with the Netanyahu on his side, he said he believes Egypt and Jordan, as well as the other countries, which he did not name, will ultimately agree to take the Palestinians. And you look over the decades, it's all death in Gaza, Trump said. This has been happening for years. It's all death. If we can get a beautiful area to resettle people permanently in a nice home where they can be happy and not be shot and not be killed and not be knifed to death like it's been happening in Gaza. The White House focused on the future of Gaza. More than 2 million residents come as the nascent truce between Israel and Hamas hangs in the balance. Netanyahu is facing complete pressure from his right-wing coalition to end a temporary truce against Hamas militant in Gaza and from the war-weary Israelis who want the remaining hostages home and the 15-month conflict to end. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, the Palestinian Authority, and Arab League joined Egypt and Jordan in rejecting plans to move Palestinians out of the territory of Gaza and the occupied West Bank. Yet Trump may be betting he can persuade Egypt and Jordan to come up around the displaced Palestinian because of the significant aid that the U.S. provide Cairo and Amman. Hardline right-wingers of the Netanyahu government embraced the call to move displaced Palestinians out of Gaza. To me, it's unfair to explain to Palestinians they may be back in 5 years. Trump military envoy Steve Witkoff told reporters this is preposterous. Trump also signaled that he may be reconsidering independent Palestinian state as part of a border two-state solution to the decade-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, a lot of plans change with time, he told reporters when asked if he would still commit to a plan like the one he laid out in 2020 that called for a Palestinian state. A lot of death has occurred since I left and now come back, Trump said. Now we faced with a situation that's different, in some ways better, in some ways worse. But we are faced with a very complex and difficult situation that we'll solve. Netanyahu arrival in Washington for the first foreign leader visit of Trump's second term. Comments the Prime Minister popularity support is lagging. The Prime Minister is in the middle of a week-long testimony ongoing corruption trial that centers on allegation he exchanged favors with a media mogul and wealthy associates. He cried the accusation and he said he's a victim of a witch hunt. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Being seen with Trump, who is popular in Israel, could help distract the public from the trial and boost Netanyahu's standing. We have the right leader of Israel who has done a great job, Trump said to Netanyahu. Netanyahu also praised Trump's leadership in getting the hostages and the ceasefire deal. I am just so unhappy that they are here, Netanyahu said of Trump and his administration. It's Netanyahu's first travel outside Israel since the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrant in November for him. His former defense minister and Hamas slain military chief, accusing them of war crimes against humanity due to the war in Gaza. The U.S. does not recognize the ICC authority over its citizens or territory. Wait a minute. You still have an arrest warrant out for the slain military chief of Hamas. That's gonna be hard to do that one. I don't think that's gonna work. What are you gonna do? Wind up with his ashes or something? I mean, come on, be realistic. Netanyahu met with the White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Woskoff on Monday to begin the daunting work of brokering the next phase of the ceasefire agreement. The Israeli leader said he would send a delegation to Qatar to continue indirect talks with the Hamas that are being meditated by the Gulf Arab country. The first confirmation that those negotiations will continue. Netanyahu also said he will convey his secure cabinet to discuss Israel demands for the next phase of the ceasefire when he returns to Israel at the end of the week. Witkoff, meanwhile, says he had planned to meet with Qatar Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani. I apologize. I need somebody's name I butcher here. In Florida on Tuesday to discuss the next phase of the ceasefire. Qatar and Egypt has served as key intermediaries with Hamas throughout the conflict. And by the way, it took me a long time to pronounce Netanyahu, so I still pronounce that wrong from time to time. Netanyahu, see, is under intense pressure from the hard right members of his government coalition to abandon the ceasefire and resume fighting in the Gaza to eliminate Hamas. Basil Shurich, one of Netanyahu key partners, see, I'm pronouncing wrong names again, vowed to topple the government if the war isn't relaunched, a step that could easily lead to early elections. Hamas, which has reassessed control over Gaza since the ceasefire began last month, has said it will not release hostages in the second phase without an end to the war and Israel forces fully withdraw. Netanyahu, meanwhile, maintains that Israel is committed to a victory over Hamas and the return of all hostages captured on October 7, 2023, attack that triggered the war. Another one. Zewiska. Oh, I can't pronounce these names for anything. Whose son, Martin, is among the hostages, call on Trump to use American leverage to keep Netanyahu's commitment to the agreement. Martin, 24, is among those who are expected to be included in the second phase of the deal. All remaining living hostages, including men under the age of 50 and male soldiers, are to be exchanged for a yet to be determined number of Palestinian prisoners. The second phase is also expected to include the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. I want President Trump to know that there are certain extreme elements from within Israel who are trained to topple or torpedo his vision. Zan Gacker, who traveled to Washington from Israel to join a planned Tuesday rally outside the White House. We are representative of the vast majority of Israel. The ultra extremists are blackmailing the Prime Minister to do their bidding. The Prime Minister is also expected to use the visit to press Trump to take decisive action on Iran. Tehran has faced a series of military setbacks, including Israeli forces significantly degrading Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah militant in Lebanon, as well as an operation that disintegrated Iran's air defenses. The moment Netanyahu believed had created a window to decisively address Tehran's nuclear program. Ahead of his meeting with Netanyahu, Trump has signed an executive order that he would increase economic pressure on Iran. We are not going to allow them to have a nuclear weapon. So, all it says now is a Goldberg reports from Tel Aviv, Israel. Associated Press writer Marlene Lindman in Jerusalem contributes to reporting. I'm sorry, just a lot of people's name. I hate to butcher their name, but I do a lot of times. I'm not great in reading names. So it's not like I'm doing this out of fun. I mean, I know Rush Limbaugh did that, make fun of people's names all the time, but I'm not Rush. Besides, he does it a lot funnier than I could ever do. But yeah, that was shocking. I was not expecting that. That he's willing to wipe the slate clean in Gaza, demolish what's left of the city, the area, rebuild everything back up to better than it was before, make it an economic zone. Now, why isn't the USAID didn't do this before? It's beyond me. Now you know why they were being shut down. I don't know if it's going to come back. But, the fact was that the Gaza Strip might be leveled and then rebuilt back up to better than it was before, to an economic zone, so they could create jobs and stuff. Yeah, because if they're living better, they won't have to be fighting Israel. And Israel won't have to be fighting them. Because, tit for tat and tat for tit and tit for tat and tat for tit, it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere, isn't it? No. And I still don't know what they were going to gain from October 7th, 2023, when they invaded Israel and did what they did. It didn't help their cause because, you know, some of the stuff was horrible. And then, of course, people were adding rumors about baby being heads chopped off and stuff. And then, of course, they retaliated by saying, oh, yeah, Israel's bombing hospitals and all kinds of wonderful stuff. And it turns out a lot of stuff wasn't true. Well, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable story. I mean, I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't. So I guess the Democrats are going to be scratching their heads on this one saying, huh? Anyway, this is Alcan saying so long for now. Don't forget your stop.